Welcome to GoldSeek TV. I am Peter Spina, the president and founder of GoldSeek, and it's my pleasure to be here today and introduce some of my top gold and silver picks for 2023. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to the CEO of AbraSilver, John Miniotis. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being on our show, and I look forward to talking about the new exciting discovery that you recently came out with. But before we get into that, I'd like to first talk about the project in general, because this is a huge advanced stage gold and silver exploration project that has been developed over many years, and it has been growing throughout the years consistently. And with that, I'd like to kind of first step back and talk about where the project started off with when you came into the company. I've been an investor in this company since the get-go under the old management team, which was attracted me to as an investor into the project of the upside that existed there. But the problem was the upside was not able to be realized because there was no money in the bank. The company was really just on its final legs. So I believe it was 2019, another company you were running merged with AbraSilver, and you came into the company, and everything has changed since then. So if you could give a little bit of a background on how that came together, what attracted you to this project initially, and then we can talk a bit more about the success over the past few years since you've been involved.
Perfect. No, thanks very much, Peter. And yeah, greatly appreciate your support from the onset, as you mentioned. I'll just bring up my screen here and walk you through sort of from a high level, give you a bit of the history of the project. And so, as you mentioned, I mean, myself, the current management team, we got involved exactly 3 years ago now. So it was January 2020 that we completed the merger and took over running this company. I was the interim CEO of another company prior to that called Aethon Minerals. We had a project in Chile that we had partnered with Rio Tinto, and we had spent about a year and a half looking to add a project to that company. And so we scoured, really we were focused on South America, mainly Chile, Peru, Argentina, etc. So we had signed multiple dozens of CAs over the year and a half, reviewed a number of projects, and then thankfully came across this one. And as you mentioned, this was run under a former management team that, unfortunate for them, had completely run out of cash. But they were sitting on this large-scale project in Argentina, quite advanced stage, had a nice resource, but they were unable to drill, of course, unable to advance the project. And so, we spent 6 months reviewing this. We've done an internal sort of a desktop study, rebuilt a geological model, and identified a number of high-grade areas that were untested previously. So anyways, long story short, we merged the two companies together. This was 3 years ago in January of 2020. We raised a bit of money from the onset, and really from the onset, our exploration team led by Dave O'Connor, who's our chief geologist, has just done a phenomenal job for us. And from the very first drill hole, we hit some high-grade gold and silver mineralization. And for the past 2 years, we've been consistently, or 3 years now, consistently growing the main deposit, which is called the Culto. So the project here is a large-scale project. It's called Diablilos. It's a large land package. The main deposit is called a Culto. And when we took over, it was about 27 million tons. And now 2 years or 3 years later, it's 51 million tons. So we've almost doubled the size of this project. We've been focused on incrementally growing this on a very cost-efficient basis. So when you look at how much money we've spent over the past few years here drilling this versus how many ounces we've added, we've been adding ounces at a very, very cost-efficient basis, about $10 an ounce gold equivalent. And so, this project now sits with 110 million ounces of silver, essentially, 1.3 million ounces of gold, and that's all in the measured and indicated category. So it's a well-established, exploration project. But importantly, we'll get to the upside here, which has really been transformational over the past few months.
And that's from your latest resource update, correct, that you came out with in the prior few months?
In November.
That's November.
Right. Yeah.
So you've been upgrading the resources. You've been drilling away. You keep hitting really good good silver values, gold values, and the resource keeps upgrading. Now, I think also what's important here is to realize that these are grades that you're hitting near surface. That this is from the prior PEA. This is from a conceptualized pit, open pit potential mine. So we're looking at a really nice oxide deposit near surface that continues to grow in different directions. And we're continuing to see ongoing drilling. And as you have in the slide here, I'll let you continue on with this new JAC target. But that was a very nice surprise back in August, which we'll dig more into. And I'm curious too with the way the markets have been, with how difficult the last year has been for the exploration sector. Has the market, have they really noticed these results, or did they miss this huge discovery?
Yeah, very, very much so. I think the market is definitely overlooking the news that we've now identified a brand new discovery. So outside of the Oculto pit, we'll show you some visuals here. Back in August, as you mentioned, we drilled one hole. I mean, maybe I'll skip ahead to those slides here, just so you can have a better sense. So this is the Oculto pit. We completed a seismic survey and then drilled one single hole back in August. We saw this large anomaly here. It had zero drilling historically, so there was never any drill holes drilled in this new southwest zone. We drilled a single hole, came back with excellent values. You can see it here again. And I mean, since then, let me just find the slide. We've now, since August, this has been the focus of our exploration team. So we've shifted gears here. Oculto still has a lot of upside. Clearly, we've grown this, almost doubled the size of the tonnage here over the past few years. But now we're drilling outside of Oculto in this new JAC target, which is towards the southwest. And importantly, even though Oculto's open pit, this is even closer to surface. So this would have a lower strip ratio. You can see the elevation here is very favorable. This is in a flat-lying region here, whereas topography slopes upwards towards the northeast, so mineralization gets a bit deeper as you go towards the northeast. When you're in the southwest here, I mean, you're hitting high grades. You can see here over multiple drill holes, and most of these start 50, 60 meters below surface. So this is an ultra high grade silver deposit now. Outside of the main pit, we'll have a secondary pit likely here. And this is really exciting news for us, because we've transformed from being a single deposit sort of project. It was a nice high grade deposit, to now potentially having multiple zones and multiple targets, even beyond JAC.
So before you hit the JAC zone discovery, you were focusing, I believe, below the pit and northeast of the pit, where the conceptual pit, where a lot of the hits were gold grades. So the big difference here is this is a high grade silver zone. So you're hitting left and right. You're still in the oxides. You have below the pit, conceptualized pit there. You're still figuring out what exists below there, the feeder zones, and a potential, would it be a potential porphyry system that's feeding this, or?
A deeper porphyry, yeah. So we've drilled a few holes just beneath Oculto. We've drilled a few holes down deeper into the sulfides, and we've hit some high-grade copper intercepts as well. I mean, you can see here 10 meters of 2% copper beneath the pit. Going down. I mean, it's consistently, above 1% copper. So, and so there's a deeper porphyry clearly driving this. We have not yet hit that porphyry, but the breccias obviously have some sulfide mineralization here that we've hit. There's certainly potential there, but for us, we're still focused on the oxides, which is the low-hanging fruit, the most cost-efficient, drilling these more shallow holes. And you can process all within the same sort of plant.
So the goal here, the easiest way to add value to this company now is to focus on the oxides, the near surface, high grade area that you've hit now, and continue to progress that, mostly focusing on this JAC zone. what is the current program like? I believe you're in phase 2 right now. There's still ongoing drilling going in this program, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, so we're actually in phase 3, which is a 15,000 meter program. And we're more than halfway completed that program right now. So we have 2 rigs on site, which is what we've had for the last 2 years. We've moved those both away from Oculto and focus on this JAC target. And so we've already drilled about 40 holes at JAC, which has been completed. So we have probably, another 20 holes, say, left to drill. And then that will be completed within the next few months. And by Q2, we'll have a maiden resource estimate come out on this new JAC zone, and then a pre-feasibility study on the entire project, which will be the 2 main areas for now.
So those are 2 big milestones that are coming up. You've done PEAs in the past on the project. For investors, what's the main difference? What's a big difference between the PEA and the PFS?
Yeah, so much more detail goes into the pre-feasibility study, so a lot more detailed engineering. For us, our PAs have been well advanced, so we've always had measured and indicated resource, but other PAs could also include inferred resources as well, so much earlier stage, much more speculative. Here, there's a lot more detailed engineering on the cost side as well, where we're sort of obtaining quotes and making sure that the CapEx is, much more fine-tuned, I would say, than your PA. So it's, a step along the way. And then the next stage would be a definitive bankable feasibility study. And that's what we would be completing sort of next year. By 2024, we expect we'd have a bankable feasibility study. Once you have that complete, permits in place, you're then ready for a construction decision.
So in that context, this is a potential mine in the coming years. This is located in a very favorable jurisdiction, one of the top-rated jurisdictions in South America. You are in an area which is rich with gold and silver and lithium. I know it very well from the Lindero Gold Project from Fortuna Silver. But you have other very favorable neighbors putting in billions and billions of dollars into the region. So despite some of the notions about some of the issues with Argentina, and I think it would be good to talk about that as well with the inflation problems, capital controls, and how you manage that. Mining-wise, jurisdiction-wise, you couldn't be in a better location. And if you could kind of give us a little bit of overview, what is happening near you, and what do you see happening with this project? There's a lot of majors around there. Are there potential partners? Are you getting interest from larger companies? Because this is a very large deposit. This would fit into a larger company's portfolio of mines.
That's right. Yeah. No, so in terms of Argentina, you're right. I mean, Argentina has, of course, its share of economic problems. But, regardless, you've seen that, there are a few provinces in particular where mining investment activities right now, exploration activities, construction activities, are absolutely booming and are at all-time record highs. And so I'd say Salta is the premier mining province within the country. And you can see here where we're based. So this is, we're right in the middle of sort of the lithium triangle. And now these green boxes, I mean, all of these are other projects. Green represents, these are projects that are currently under active construction. So these are projects that are being built. And if you look at just within a 150-kilometer radius from us, there's over $2 billion US of investment activities, going into all 4 of these are 4 lithium projects being constructed currently. You mentioned, so red here is shown as completed construction. These are operating mines. You mentioned Lindero, which is our closest sort of silver neighbor. That'd be about, less than 200 kilometers away from us. That was completed construction, about 360 million US was spent there a few years back. That's running nicely for Fortuna. That's a gold a heap leach operation. But you can see there's, absolutely booming in terms of investment activity. And we're also seeing the same thing in San Juan, where we have another secondary project called La Coipita. San Juan's booming, and that's very well known for Filo del Sol, has a major discovery there. But all the majors are looking for copper porphyries in that part of Argentina as well. So we're very, very fortunate. This is a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. We have excellent relationships. I mean, the local communities are there specifically for mining. The nearest community is about 100 kilometers away from us. We have excellent relationships with them. And then when you're permitting, you deal only in Argentina with the provincial governments, which is a huge benefit because the Salta government is very favorable to mining, of course. And there are a number of incentives for developing projects, tax incentives, et cetera. So we're in an excellent jurisdiction where mining investment activity is clearly booming, and we're very, very confident. Look, Diablillos will become a mine here in the very near future.
For U.S. investors, that's a similar setup to the United States as far as mining jurisdiction and how that works. So it's kind of a per state basis. It sounds kind of similar arrangement down in Argentina. So this is in the northern part, and in southern part you have your other projects. Actually, you have quite a few other projects, very nice ones, but this is the key one at the moment you're focused on. You're going to finish up phase 3 drilling here. You've got updated resource. You're going to have the pre-feasibility study. Will you continue to be drilling as you go through these different studies as well? And what do you plan to do with you've recently raised about $10 million, so you're well cashed up. So what is the game plan for this year?
That's right. Yeah. So we're very well funded here, about 18 million Canadian in the bank as of year end. And of course, the drilling is not going to stop. So we have 2 rigs going on the JAC target currently. That will continue within very short order. Within the next few months, we'll have completed this 15,000 meter drill program. And so lots of assay results are in the lab currently, should be coming out imminently within the next few weeks here. And so look out for consistent news flow from this new JAC target. Once we get back all the results from the lab, we'll then announce another updated mineral resource estimate. We just announced our last one, of course, in November, which was focused on Oculto. So that's going to remain largely unchanged. But this new JAC target now is sort of transformational for us, much higher grade, closer to surface, and silver rich. And so we'll have that coming out. And then, of course, drilling will continue throughout the year. We'll then move on to our phase 4 program. Yet to be decided how many meters we'll be drilling there. But the exploration team is finalizing that at the moment as we speak. And then, as you mentioned, we have another project as well. So in the San Juan province of Argentina, we have a large potential early stage copper gold porphyry. But there we drilled just 2 holes last year, and that second hole hit 700 meters of copper mineralization. So this is a serious potential project here, early stage exploration, so much more highly speculative. But there we'll be drilling another 3 deep holes. That drilling is going to start next month in February, and again, that will be targeting a billion-ton plus porphyry target. So looking for a game-changing asset here that we could potentially spin off to our shareholders and potentially start a copper company again focused on that asset.
Okay, that's interesting. So my next question was going to be, how do you manage that? Because this is a huge project. It's in the same area as Rob McEwen's, I believe, his Azure, the project. It's a very hot area, and as he said, he had a very excellent drill hole there. So spinning that off to shareholders would allow the new company to raise capital and focus on that, while AbraSilver's focused primarily on Diablillos.
That's right. Yeah. So there's, multiple options here that we'll evaluate. Of course, we're going to be drilling these 3 holes. It all depends on what the results look like from these 3 holes. But one potential opportunity is just to partner immediately with a major. And so you vend this project into a major, a joint venture, similar to what we had done with our Chilean property. We had partnered that with Rio Tinto. And so that's one opportunity. And then the major drills this, and we get a carried interest and get to participate in the upside without having to do much work. Or my more likely approach here is if this seems like is potential mega porphyry here, this would require tens of millions of dollars and multiple years of drilling to define that. So we would likely spin this off to our shareholders, create a new copper-focused vehicle, and then that company could raise its own money and advance this project, and then ultimately either partner with a major or be acquired by a major down the road.
Okay, so there's multiple things ahead in the coming year plus that you're doing to enhance shareholder value, which I think has been a testament to AbraSilver during these difficult times in the market. You've been able to progress the development exploration work, which has been excellent because now we're coming back into a favorable, what looks like to be very favorable silver and gold market. And here you are with over a few years worth of development work where the project has grown significantly. So you've seen the results as they're showing now on the chart there, some very excellent relative outperformance in the market. So I think that it's a true testament to how you've been dedicated and growing things when most companies have not been able to, and you've been able to do that without having to hit the market for over a few years until now recently, which thankfully the share price has now come back up to somewhat more favorable conditions to where it was over the summer when people just gave up on this sector and people were just selling, investors were just dumping anything for next to nothing in the market. So if you could talk more about your performance there, I think that's an excellent chart there.
Perfect. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I mean, this chart goes way back to when we finalized the merger, and so I took over running the Abra back in January of 2020. And so of course, 2020 in the summer, we hit a very hot market. We had some excellent drill results. Abra at that time was about a $10 million market cap, so very much under the radar because they had done no real exploration work for the previous few years. And so, we transformed the company in 2020, clearly raised some money, brought in Eric Sprott as a shareholder, made a number of large, some excellent drill results, et cetera. And then, of course, hit the peak in the market sort of in early 2021 as everyone decreased. So did we. But we've now been flat, I'd say, here at around the 35, 40 cent level for a good year. And so we've been consolidating here for an extended period of time. Importantly, what's not being recognized by the market, in my opinion, at this time is our new discovery. So this new JAC target, we announced that in August. And prior to announcement, we were trading at about 40 cents per share. And we're still trading below that now. And so it's unreal to me that we've now announced well over a dozen high-grade intercepts from a brand new zone, and that's not getting any recognition in the market. And so I think for us this year is, it's a show me story. I mean, this is where all stars align this year. All our work over the past few years is going to come into fruition as we deliver that pre-feasibility study, which will include now this new zone. I think that's where you're going to see a significant amount of value hopefully being realized here and being finally reflected in the share price. And then hopefully as silver prices outperform, I mean, hopefully we can have another sustained bull run as we did back in January 2020 when Abra was one of the best performing silver projects out there. So yeah, looking very much forward to a very exciting year ahead here. Hopefully the stars align as we deliver on all our catalysts and continue to make high-grade discoveries. Hopefully a much more favorable market backdrop will allow us to, really outperform.
I agree. As an investor, I love the leverage to the silver price, the NPV, the way that it grows as the silver price rises. You have a lot of upside. But even more so, you look around over even the past decade plus, the lack of development exploration work. There's not been very many large deposits discovered. The majors are struggling to replace ounces. So you're sitting on a very nice high-grade deposit in a favorable jurisdiction. It seems to put you in the driver's seat here. What would your, in the coming year or two, as you do these next studies and you continue to drill, and if the silver price just even holds around the mid-20s or goes higher, it seems investors have some good upside potential here, and a continued discovery at the project. And it seems to me that there isn't a lack of work to be done. There's too much work to be done. There's a lot of different ways to add value to you have a 80 square kilometer package there with a growing strike length, and so it just seems to me that the market just doesn't understand fully what's going on, and to me the discovery in August, it was just kind of missed by this absolutely horrible sentiment in the market, where you could put out some of the best silver results, which you did over the last few years, and no one notices because they're just gold and silver were just absolutely just discarded. But that has, to me, that I think we've hit a key bottom in the market. So we're now in a very interesting new cycle, moving into a new phase of the cycle. So that puts you in a very good position, and investors, because these majors and mid tiers, they're scrambling. Here you have a nice chart. If you could kind of give us some relative comparisons to what exists out there on the silver side.
Sure. No, you make a number of excellent points there, and fully agree with you. But yeah, one thing to highlight here in particular is the scarcity of high quality, large scale primary silver projects out there that exist globally, anywhere in the world. We certainly have one of them. And so if you look at from a measured and indicated, looking at silver equivalent ounces here, we have about 216 million ounces. This was, of course, based on Oculto alone. This is our November update here. Does not include the JAC target, which by next quarter, we'll have a M&I resource on that. So hopefully approaching 300 million ounces or so as you incorporate the JAC target, and then potentially other zones beyond that as well. So this is a large scale, high quality project, reasonable capex because it's open pitable, it's agitated leaching, it's in oxides here. So very reasonable capex, large scale project. And you can see how that compares to the portfolio and assets held by the mid-tier silver producers. So you have First Majestic, Endeavor, Fortuna, Kerr, Hochschild, Mag Silver, etc. I think there is absolutely a scarcity out there. There have not been many high-grade, large-scale primary silver discoveries made here over the last decade even. And so I think Diablillos clearly stands out as one of the few high-quality, advanced stage exploration assets that could be brought into production here within the next few years. And so that's where we see ourselves adding the most value, is keep expanding this, deliver a feasibility study, get the construction permits in place, and in very short order, we could have a construction decision here, and then all options are on the table. Do we look to finance this ourselves and bring on a construction team that has built projects like this before, or do we look to joint venture or sell the project, or all options are on the table, and it's really what's going to drive our decision is what's going to be best for shareholders, period, full stop. And so that's what we're going to do, whatever drives the most value for us on a risk-adjusted basis. It's obviously much more risky to build this yourself and put on a whole bunch of debt on the company. Could be a lot more upside, but on a risk-adjusted basis, what delivers the best return for our shareholders?
Sure. Well, as a silver investor, I'm excited about the timing. You're entering into a good silver gold market, and I would hope that the market starts to give premiums to these unique deposits that still remain out there, one of them being this deposit. So we'll be interested to follow the development of it. Just a few more questions and just kind of to address Argentina, because there's a lot of discussion about the inflation rate and capital controls. How do you manage those situations, and how do you find working in an environment where you have high inflation?
Yeah, so for exploration companies, it's actually quite favorable, and so surprisingly, and I think most investors would be surprised to hear that. But we hold, of course, all our cash in Canadian or US dollars, okay, and then we exchange into pesos as needed. And essentially, the peso is significantly devalued over the past few years here. And so that's more or less offset the inflation pressures that we've seen. And so while your costs in pesos have doubled, I mean, your FX rate has more than doubled as well. And so right now we're drilling, our all-in drilling costs at site are about 400 US per meter. So we spend about $400 US per meter. Mm-hmm. Now, 3 years ago, when we first started, that was about just under 300. So we've seen, of course, just like everyone all across the world, I would say, have seen inflationary pressures, but it's been very, very reasonable and probably very comparable to other jurisdictions, including North America. To see your costs increase by 33% over 3 years is probably standard in the industry, I would say. So there are inflationary pressures, but once you convert the offset from the FX rate from the peso devaluing, I think it's quite comparable to most other jurisdictions, I would say.
Okay, so you're holding most of the cash in dollars, Canadian, US, so you're hedging that, and I'm sure the government appreciates foreign capital dollars coming in, so that's puts you in an advantage. Just one more overview, I guess, on the financial side. You're well cashed up. You recently raised more money, so you're in a good financial position. Your shareholder base, you have a large retail shareholder base. You've got Eric Sprott with about an eighth of the company. I mean, and then and management like yourself are also shareholders. So you have pretty good distribution there. What do you find from is potential to grow, say, on the institutional investor base as this project size grows and other larger investors?
That's right. And that was one of the primary drivers for completing this brokered financing that we completed back in December. That was almost entirely all institutional. And so as we've been marketing for the past year, we've been focused mostly on institutional marketing. There's been, a lot of demand, I would say. The deal was well oversubscribed. We capped it at 10 million. Just to minimize the dilution. We ended up raising diluting the company by about 5%, which is an acceptable level in my view for bringing in the cash that we're going to need to advance to that construction decision stage. And so, we brought in some good supportive institutional investors as part of this last financing. So we've seen the institutional investor base increase from literally zero when we took over 3 years ago to now holding about a third of the company, I would say, would be my estimate. But still very, very strong retail investor base. They've been very supportive of some excellent retail investors have been supporting us all along. And so, we're very pleased with where we sit. Having the cash in the bank is key. Of course, we all expect much more favorable silver prices ahead, but in the near term, absolutely anything can happen. We saw that last year in the summer. Nobody expected silver to go down to the levels it did, and certainly high quality exploration companies to be almost no bid out there. So in the near term, anything can happen. It's nice to have that buffer saying, look, no matter what happens here, we're going to continue drilling, we're going to continue advancing this, and by next year in 2024, this will have a feasibility study completed, construction permits in place, and then it's ready to be built.
Well, I think you've done an excellent job in managing that. Obviously, you came into the company when it was on life support and have been able to raise cash and put into a much stronger, excellent position here. So well done on that front. I know that you came into the company with already a bloated share structure. Is there any potential to clean that up? Is there any thinking maybe to work on a reverse split, doing something there, or?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say probably later this year, so sometime in 2023, as we deliver on the pre-feasibility study, et cetera. That's something that we've had a number of discussions with the board, and it's something that we continue to look at. I think it needs to be done in a favorable silver environment, because we've seen a number of examples, I'd say, where if you're caught in the wrong market and you do a reverse split, I mean, it kind of goes the other way for a number of companies over the past few years here. So that's something that's been on our radar screen over the past few years, something that we continue to pay attention to. And, at the right time, absolutely. I'd look to clean up the share structure. We already have the cash in place, et cetera. And I think that's something that would be well received by the market at the right time.
Oh, good. That's good news. I believe that for most of the instances, reverse splits are done inappropriately, but if they're done at the right time, in the right position, strength, that it can be a very positive factor if done right. So that's good news. I as an investor, I would favor that in the right conditions. And I just want to ask you one more thing, I guess, on the management and board shareholder position. You're obviously one of the large shareholders in the company. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's myself. Again, it's a very, very lean management team. So in fact, I mean, it's almost identical management team to when we were a $10 million company. We've brought on just one employee, a senior VP of projects, who's helped us deliver the pre-fees and ultimately the feasibility study. But it's a very, very lean team, very low G&A. And myself, I own over 3 million shares of the company, which on a percentage basis isn't a huge percentage, but on a personal basis, it's a very large portion of my net worth. And of course, I have a large number of options, et cetera. So my financial sort of net worth is very much tied to the performance of this company. And similarly with our chairman and also a few of our directors as well, our chief geologists. We have a large percentage of our personal net worths in this company. And I think between a few of us, that amounts to about a 3% stake in the company when you just look at the current shares, but not the options.
Okay.
On a fully diluted basis, it would be slightly higher.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, it's very important to see management involved and have their skin in the game. So that's good to see. And I think some of the primary risks as an investor, I always think about the metal prices, and then is management involved? Are there interests aligned with investors? And we've seen the results of that over the last few years with how the company's developed. So you do have quite a few different other projects as well, I believe, for another conversation to talk about. But the main two are being moved now forward. It's great to see that with this new discovery, we'll be able to get an updated resource and how that incorporates into the PFS coming up. And of course, if the silver and gold market have a big breakout some point this year, even further, that's just going to add to the potential upside on top of the exploration upside. So I really love this project. It just seems to keep giving. It just doesn't seem to lack any targets. It has had some of the best results of any projects I've been following the last years, and it's turning into a real world-class, high-grade deposit. So it's a very nice future. I believe it's going to be a future mine. We'll see how the numbers play out this year. So I'm really looking forward to the upcoming drill results and other updates on the company. We will have to follow up after some of the results come out to get an update and see where we stand at that point. But if there's any other final parting message or anything that I may have missed that would be good to communicate with current or potential shareholders, please feel free to add.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Peter. I think that's an excellent summary you just provided. Again, appreciate all your support here. But I'd say in summary, look, the key takeaway is 2023 is really a transformational year for Abra, without question here. And so as we've been consistently, sort of incrementally growing the Oculto project over the last 2 years, I'd say 2023 is a different year for us because now it's more transformational. You go from having just one single deposit to two, and you go on to have a pre-feasibility study. And so I think, and that's not being factored into the current share price, in my opinion, at the moment. And so there's certainly an opportunity here, I think, to add tremendous amount of shareholder value. And we're just going to continue to do what we've been doing, just focus on hitting these high-grade results, advancing and growing this project, And then finally, we'll be able to quantify that into the pre-feasibility study, which is expected by the end of Q2. So in less than 6 months from now, we'll have that pre-feasibility study. And then we also have this other project, La Coiptia, which could add further fuel to the fire, hopefully, if we continue to hit some high-grade copper intercepts on that secondary project. So a very, very exciting year for us. And again, appreciate all your support. And yeah, look forward to updating you as we unlock these sort of next steps here.
Looking forward to it, John. Thanks again for your time. Safe travels down to South America. And looking forward to the upcoming results and following up with you in the near future.
Thanks very much, Peter.
Thank you.